a tearful President Biden has taken to the stage on the opening night of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago with an emotional farewell speech in which he told supporters they're in a battle for the very soul of America. It came as the Democratic presidential nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, made a brief surprise appearance at the convention, breaking tradition by appearing on the opening night. Here's our North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue.
A month ago, he was still his party's nominee. Now he's yesterday's man. The past, not the future. All that's left to hand over the baton.
Selecting Kamala was the very first decision I made when I became our nominee. And it was the best decision I made my whole career.
If it was a fond farewell for the president, it was a full-scale outburst of enthusiasm for the woman who has stepped into his shoes. But she knew this was still his night.
Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
This is her first appearance at the convention, and you can hear around me the enthusiasm for the new nominee. This is the woman carrying the hopes of the Democratic Party right through until November the 5th.
And the U.S. War Machine! And the U.S. War Machine!
Outside the convention, the war in Gaza has drawn anger from many Democratic supporters and others. And while the numbers weren't as large as expected, the protesters had a stark message for Kamala Harris.
If you want to win Pennsylvania, you want to win the election, it's very easy. Stop the genocide and we'll stop the protest. How's that?
This past tumultuous month in American politics has seen Kamala Harris narrow the race against Donald Trump. But it's still a race too close to call. The battle has only just begun. Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News, Chicago.
Well, it's very late at night, early in the morning in Chicago. As you can see, most people have gone home, but one person who hasn't. Our correspondent Gary O'Donoghue is still there. Thanks so much, Gary. How did Joe Biden do?
Well, he was late, which he always is, and he was long, which he often is. And he talked a great deal about his record, about his achievements, particularly over the last 4 years. He talked about the threat to democracy, as you said, and he made a couple of references to his vice president, Kamala Harris. Best decision he ever made, he said. He talked about her being strong, talked about her having integrity. I think perhaps we might have expected a bit more of a sort of full-throated endorsement throughout that speech of her candidacy, but in many ways this was his swan song, his valedictory moment, and I think the convention was going to allow him that. You saw the emotion, his wife spoke as well. I think they will allow that for this first night. The rest of the week, different matter. That is selling Kamala Harris to the country, that is fleshing out her story, her background, and what she's going to do, selling that vision thing that is what wins votes in elections.
Gary, obviously inside the convention it's a rapturous atmosphere, an audience of the faithful, but it's been a bit of a honeymoon period up till now for Kamala Harris. When do things start to get real?
Well, it has been a honeymoon period, and there have been some criticism that she hasn't really opened herself up to some detailed scrutiny in terms of long interviews with big hitting, news programs, etc., etc. They say that will come. They're still working out her platform, her program, if you like. And really there's a moment in American presidential elections that happens at the beginning of September, after what we call Labor Day here, where the campaign just ratchets up. It goes up a whole set of new gears. The scrutiny, the debate, the cut and thrust becomes on a far different level. That is when she will be really tested.
OK, Gary, thanks very much. Gary O'Donoghue there, very late after everyone else has gone home at the Democratic Convention in Chicago.